Well, last week, Toronto Police Services released a detailed report that confirmed people of color were 1.2 to 1.6 times more likely to have a violent interaction with police. This was in 2020. Black residents more likely to have a police point a firearm compared to white people. It's a reality the Black community has been describing for decades, negative interaction with authority, and sadly, many feel this will never change. Joining me to talk more about this on our Realities of Racism panel are Celina Caesar-Chavannes, as well as Celina is a former MP. Bukky Wonda is the founder and CEO of Shirai. This is an online immigration consulting firm. Good to have you both on the program. Appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank you, Angie.
Celina, I want to start with you first. You and I had a conversation last week when we were talking about this panel about an incident that happened to you in Ottawa. This was on Parliament Hill.
Yeah, Angie, when we see this type of data coming out from Toronto Police Services, I'm sure I live in Durham region. We could say the same thing happening or similar here and other things across the country. When you think about the fact that myself as a former member of parliament presented on the Hill with an identifiable pin that identified me as a former member of parliament, one thing that protective services should recognize immediately and therefore not racially profile me, not treat me with extra scrutiny, extra sort of navigations through the security system. That happened to me as a former member of parliament. Whether or not they recognize me or not is irrelevant. I did have a pin that identified me as a member of parliament. So the question that Canadians must be asking themselves, or should be asking themselves, is what happens when others or individuals cross encounters with those with authority, especially those who are identified as police or security, when they are navigating spaces. And those reports are troubling, and those reports are our lived reality. And my title, Angie, did not protect me from those realities.
Bukky, you and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with regards to what your experience has been. And we talked about you as an entrepreneur. And the one thing that angered me, I'm going to say not shocked, but angered me, was you had talked about being questioned, doubted, labeled because you're a Black woman, that you didn't deserve to be paid equally as somebody else, that your abilities were questioned.
Yes, Angie, and thanks for the opportunity again. So yes, I mean, I experience that all the time in terms of people just don't think that you have what it takes to deliver what you say you're going to deliver just because of the way you look. And sometimes it's even though you have a master's, even though you have all of these things, even though you're overqualified, you still always have to defend yourself to people to trust you enough to pay you less than what they will pay other people. I've had so many encounters where people have gone to pay double of the price somewhere else and didn't get the value, and they come back and they still want to pay you at a reduced cost. So those are some of the challenges that sometimes, as an entrepreneur and as someone who has given so much into running my business, it is very frustrating.
Yeah, no, it is. It's unbelievably shocking indeed. Now we have this police report that's come out, this very, very detailed police report. And Celina, you really touched on this when we're talking about, issues, people with authority and how you're judged and treated and whatnot. Out of that also came an apology from the interim police chief. I want to get both your perspectives on that and what the apology meant. Was it a starting point? I'm not going to say was it enough, because clearly, of course, it isn't. But Bukky, let's start with you first. Was that something that resonated with you?
Yes, it does. And when I saw that story you shared with me, it brought me back to an incident that happened right here in Calgary, where an elderly man was murdered in cold blood, by the police here in Calgary. And I don't think that apology is enough, because it's not changing anything unless there's a reformation or something that happens within the police system. We are going to continue to see the same thing happen to people that look like me.
Celina, what are your thoughts here? Because, I mean, you said, as you described what happened to you on Parliament Hill, look, regardless of who you are and whatnot, there was a clear indication of what your position was, what your position is there, but that was, you were automatically put in a section.
Yeah, and Angie, so first of all, an apology is not enough.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. We keep getting hearts and prayers and apologies and things written on paper and reports that are written or things that are studied. We know this. We've lived this. We've dealt with this for a very long time. We talk about these instances. I've talked about these instances 4 years as a member of parliament, in which case I've never gotten to have an apology from a director of parliamentary services or anybody else. And so we as a community have talked about this for a very long time, and an apology is not enough. There comes a time when there needs to be action. The data is there, the evidence is there of how we are racially profiled, how racism exists in the system, how we are overrepresented, Black and Indigenous people in our federal institutions, and what? We still don't have a repeal of mandatory minimums. We still don't have expungements for criminal possession of cannabis. We still have things where our legislators, as well as our officials who actually are responsible for the protection and the service to our communities, do nothing. So when are we going to stop accepting just a mere apology, which are just words, and start accepting some real action that goes along with that? When are we going to start to see evidence that actually people actually care about Black lives?
I apologize. I'm almost out of time here, but I want to get a quick point in from both of you. We've talked about the system. Celina, you were talking about the problem with the system here. The police are talking about it. But what about the individuals as well? That all has to go together. Your thoughts, Celina?
Yeah, Angie, this is destroying families. You talk about coming out of a pandemic where people's mental health are at an all-time low. We see these reports. We see in Buffalo a discard for Black bodies. We see violence perpetrated on Black individuals. We see protests where there is white supremacy and anti-Blackness. When do we get justice? These are people. These are Canadians. When are those who are in power going to actually do something for us?
Bukky, your last thoughts on this? It's not just the system.
It's not just the system, and you took that out of my mouth. It is also the individuals. We need allies. We need people who see these crimes show up and speak up for us. The more we have the white counterparts speak up for all of this injustice done, whether it is at an individual level, whether it is recording and reporting it, whether it is calling the police to actually be prosecuted whenever these situations or incidents happen, that's what we need from the people so that we can get the justice and we can get the recognition that we need to move forward from this.
I always appreciate you giving me your time, both of you. I really do appreciate it. Thank you both so much. Celina, I know it's been a busy day for you. Your daughter graduating today, so congratulations to her. What a wonderful day for you and your family. Celina Caesar-Chavannes, Bukky Wonda, both of you, thank you again. We will speak again soon. Take care.
Thank you.